Hey girl, so I'm here to tell you that a vision board alone is not going to change your life in 2025. But before you toss it out or create a new one, I'm going to be sharing the missing piece that makes it all work so that you can achieve your goals in 2025 and change your life for the better. My name is Talia and welcome to my channel. Interestingly enough, y'all, I'm a vision board girly through and through. I love vision boarding, and every single year when it is time for the new year, I am super excited to reflect on what I've done in the past year and really start to plan what I want to do for the new year that's to come. But last year, I really realized every single year you're repeating the same things. Now, that's not to say that I don't achieve anything, but just overall, the themes and the patterns of the things that I want to do are constantly being repeated year after year after year. So this year I was like, okay, maybe you really need to focus on like your processes and your system so that you can actually achieve your goals and have better habits to do that. So I think that's important, but something that is even bigger than processes and the habits that I have is actually me being intentional about creating space for this new version of myself to take root. You might be like, girl, what does that mean? What are you even trying to say to us? What I'm trying to say is the old version of myself cannot take me where the new version is trying to go. So the old me, I can't bring that self-doubt with me to the new spaces that I'm gonna be in. Old me, I can't be looking for external validation from people. I have to go within and really uplift my own self. And when I tell you guys, once I realized, wow, like you really have to let that new version of yourself take root to get where you're going to get, I kid you not, it has changed everything for me. You're probably wondering now, well, how do you actually do that? So that's what we're gonna be diving into today, of just how do we create space for the new version of ourselves and make sure we are showing up for her with love, self-compassion, and grace. For today's video, I'm going to be breaking things down into 3 phases. The first phase is reflect, the second phase is release, and the third phase is reset. So as you're watching this video, feel free to pause, take out your journal and do the reflections, or if you just want to absorb the information, feel free to save this video and come back later to actually walk through the exercises. I'll be sharing a few examples just to give you guys an idea of how I've done this exercise to reset for 2025, but I do just want to call out there is no right or wrong way to do this. I really just want to help you guys get that key foundation so that you can achieve your goals for 2025. Go ahead and get right into phase 1, which is reflecting. Reflecting is defined as to think deeply or carefully about, and I think that is so important to do for 2024 before we do anything for 2025. So one exercise that I love to do when it comes to reflecting for the past year is I like to write a list of everything that I have done for the year. Now, if you're wondering, well, so much has happened, I forgot everything, how am I gonna remember? The easiest way that I find it to do this is to literally look through my camera roll. So I start in January and I just scroll through my whole entire camera roll to see what are the things that I have actually done. To Puerto Rico with one of my best friends. I celebrated my younger brother graduating from college and going into law school. I moved out of my parents' house. I got my wisdom teeth out. I went ziplining in Costa Rica. I surprised my best friend for her engagement. I saw the solar eclipse. I got a bike. Literally write down any and everything that you want for the year and call it out. Nothing is too big and nothing is too small. I think starting with reflection is really important because it just helps you see, wow, one, I've done so much in the last 365 days, but also you've grown a lot. And I don't know, you may be like me, but sometimes it's really hard for me to understand how much growth I've truly had until I take the time to just sit and reflect. Wow, you've done this, you've done that, you've changed so much in the past year. Now that you have your list of everything that you've done in 2024, I now want you to make 2 columns. One column is going to be for what went well in the year, and the other column is going to be for what was a challenge throughout the year. As you do this, I want you to think about this from the lens of gratitude. We are not here to judge ourselves or to put pressure on ourselves for the things that we did not do. We are just taking the time to reflect and give ourselves some love. So a way that you can do this is, one, you can say, I am so grateful that I handled this challenge in X, Y, and Z manner. You can also say, I am so grateful that I got to experience this. I am so grateful that I got to learn this. This is important because as you're final step for reflecting, I really want you to take the time to come up with one sentence or two. I don't want this to be extensive, just something short and brief, but I really want you to take the time to think of, what am I going to take with me into 2025? And what am I going to leave behind in 2024? So my example for this is 2025, I will continue to develop a deeper relationship with myself. In 2024, I will be leaving behind self-doubt and negative self-talk. Phase 2 is to release. Release is defined as allowing or enabling to escape from confinement or to set free. I think that definition is so interesting because I feel like when we hear the word release, we are typically thinking of it in terms of releasing negative feelings, releasing negative emotions, releasing negative people. But when I looked up that definition, I was like, this fits perfectly with the theme and the message that I am trying to convey today. We are trying to release, we are trying to set free this new version of ourselves from confinement. And that is so important to achieving any of our goals. And I cannot stress that enough. This probably sounds so intimidating. You're probably like, how in the world do I do that? This just feels like too much. And I completely understand because I oftentimes find myself also getting overwhelmed. And then I get overwhelmed and I end up doing nothing. So to make this simple, when I say we want to really release this new version of ourselves, the way that you are going to do that is by sitting in awareness. You cannot change, you cannot grow, or try to be better if you are not aware of where you are currently. I've been going to therapy for this last year, and something that me and my therapist are always talking about is that transformation lies within the awareness. She's always telling me, become aware, get aware. And so I've just really realized how important self-awareness is to actually achieving my dreams and my goals. And so the way that I like to practice self-awareness is mindfulness. So I know everyone is always talking about mindfulness and it really seems like a buzzword, but getting mindful is so important. Our world is just so busy. We're just so go that you really have to take the time to be intentional about just taking a moment to stop, pause, and be present. My favorite way to be mindful is through meditation. I love the Calm app. I do a calm meditation every day with Jay Shetty, who is one of my favorite podcasters. And also there is another free app that is called Insight Timer, which has a lot of great mindfulness meditations. If you're a beginner, I just recommend you start with a minute or 3 or 5. They have timed and guided meditations where someone can walk you through just getting mindful. And oftentimes when I started, all I would do was I would close my eyes, I would get comfortable. I had learned in college that you can picture that you were looking at a white dot and take that dot and follow it from your head all the way down to your toes. And as you do that, just becoming aware of, what am I feeling in my body? What thoughts are coming up? So that's just a really great way to become more present and really get in tune with what you are feeling. What are your thoughts telling you? What is your physical body telling you? And so I really recommend that you, one, try to start being a little bit more mindful and don't put the pressure on yourself to be perfect. As you start, it will be hard to focus. It will be hard to be mindful, but as you continue to do it, you will get better. Also, something that I want to call out with being aware and getting more self-aware is that you're not trying to change anything that you're becoming aware to. You are literally just becoming aware of it. And I kid you not, as you become more aware of something, even without trying to change it, you will find yourself having a lot of self-growth. Another thing that I want to offer is that if meditation is something that you're maybe not interested in right now or that you find really hard to do, another thing that you can do is to journal. I think journaling is a really good way to just get in tune with yourself as well. And there's a few prompts that I wanted to share today for examples of how to become more self-aware. You can ask yourself, what do I think about myself? Write that question at the top of your journal and just take the time to really think, what do I think about myself? And just become aware of that. Another prompt is, what's something that you would tell younger you? I know a lot of us have heard that the younger version of ourselves really drives how we show up in the world present day as grown-ups. And so it's just really important to think about, what would I tell myself if I was 10 years old? Like, what does 10-year-old Talia need? And then finally, something that I do, or that I started doing recently and that I actually have found value in, is simply creating a list of observations of myself as I notice them. So some examples that I wrote down is, I noticed that I am very impatient. Like, I didn't realize how impatient I was until recently. I'm like, wow, you were so impatient. Another self-observation is that warm weather makes me really happy. Like, I love the sun. I love it being 80 degrees. So those are just some examples of things that I've noticed about myself over the last year and that I've written. I literally just started a note in my phone called self-observation. And every single time I notice something about myself, I just go and add to the list. As you're becoming self-aware, again, this is not the time for you to be judgmental. It's just the time for you to sit in awareness and see what comes up. Finally, for phase 3, we are doing our reset, which reset is defined as to set again or anew. So for this phase, I really want to start with defining what is our why for 2025. So now we've done some reflection on 2024. We've really thought about how we can get aware and really start to take root as that new version of ourselves. Now we're going to shift to start to reflect and get intentional for this new and upcoming year. So for 2025, think about, what is your why? Now, I'm not gonna hold you. Every single time my therapist would ask me this question, I would get so frustrated because I'm like, I don't know what my why is. Like, I don't have this profound or deep why of like world peace. And so it would just drive me crazy every single time she would ask me like, what's your why? And I'd be like, I don't know. And it wasn't until recently when I finally figured out my why doesn't have to be so deep. My why doesn't have to be so profound. Literally, I decided that for 2025, my why is to make my life easier. And it sounds so funny, but interestingly enough, that just really sat with me. I feel like I have found myself always showing up for everyone else. I'm making commitments to other people and I just feel like I have to follow through. But when it came to commitments that I made for myself, I'm like, I'll skip out on that, or I'll put that on the back burner. And so I just realized for 2025, my why is I want to set up future me for success, and I want to show it for myself like I would show it for anybody else. And that why was really deep and profound and impactful for me. And that's all that matters. So I really want you to just take the time to think of, what is your why for 2025? It's okay if it is simple. If it's not world peace, that is totally fine. If a phrase is hard for you to come up with, I also suggest that you come up with a word. So I'm actually doing a phrase and a word. So I already shared my phrase, but my word is consistency. In 2025, I don't care what my goals are. I mean, I do care what my goals are, but I just want to be consistent in whatever I am doing. So consistency is key for 2025. Once you have your phrase, once you have your word, the next thing that you're going to do is a brain dump. Now, I personally love brain dumps, and all that means is you just take out a sheet of paper and you just write down everything that's in your brain without thinking about it. This is just so helpful for me to just get everything out and onto paper. So you're just gonna do a brain dump of what is everything that you possibly can think of that you wanna do for 2025. Take the time to do that. And then once you've done that, I want you to take everything that you wrote down and put them into categories. Now, I suggest that you don't have a ton of categories. So if things are similar or feel like the same, just group them together. I feel like 5 categories is probably a good number, but again, do what fits for you and however many categories you feel like you would need for your goals in 2025. Once you've done this, I then want you to take the time to actually prioritize them. What is the most important for now, and what are things that you can do later? Something that my therapist told me was that you can have everything you want, but you're just not gonna have it all at once. And when she said that to me, I was like, wow, like my mind was just blown by that, because I'm like, you're so right. I can have everything I want, but the likelihood of me having every single thing that I want all at once, that's a little bit harder. And so that just really sat with me as someone who feels like I have so many goals and I have so many things that I want to do and everything feels important. And sometimes it can just be hard for me to like really narrow in and focus. And so when she said that to me, that was just really helpful. And it just made me breathe like, wow. So I want you to prioritize what feels the most important. Something that my therapist had me do when I was sharing with her, like what were my goals for the year. She again told me to get mindful. She told me to get aware, and she told me to just see what did the thing feel like in my body. So like one of my goals is practice morning gratitude. Like she literally told me to say that out loud and to see how that felt in my body. Was my chest expanding or did it get tight? Just get really mindful and aware of, okay, these are the goals that you're saying, but like, how does it physically feel to you? And that can really indicate, if I'm feeling anxious or stressed, maybe it's just not the time. If I'm feeling excited and energized, then maybe that's something that I should prioritize. So I think that's really important as far as we have so many goals, but you just need to like narrow it down and get a little intentional of like, what's the most important for now? So once you do that prioritization, I think you can also narrow it down a little bit more by deciding if you want to do quarterly goals, if you want to do monthly goals, if you want to do weekly goals. Again, that just makes it a little bit more bite-sized and a little bit more digestible as far as getting things done. So then the final thing that I want us to do for this reset is to write down a list of what are the things that you need from yourself in order to achieve the things that you said you wanted to achieve in 2025. So going back to the previous phase, the better you understand yourself, the more you can show up for yourself in the way that you needed. So an example for me for 2025 is something that I need is to make sure I am talking to myself in a positive and loving way. I have so many journals and so many journal entries, and sometimes I'll just go back and like reread them. And I was reading some journal entries from like college a few months ago, and I just realized like the way that I talk to myself, I would not let anyone else talk to me that way. And so I just realized like for me to achieve my goals in 2025, I need to make sure I am talking to myself in a loving way. I need to make sure I'm talking to myself in a way that is uplifting and compassionate and giving myself grace. And I think that will be really key for me to actually stay consistent, because last week I had really bad cramps, flow was flowing. And so I didn't go to the gym as much as I had been going the previous 2 weeks. And so I had just told myself, you know what? That is okay. Like, you don't feel good, but guess what? We are going to reset next week and start again, start anew. So that's just an example of what I need for 2025. But again, take the time and reflect for what you need, because it's likely that it's probably going to be different from what I need or what anyone else needs as well. Now that we've done the 3 phases, it's time to get into the fun part, girl, which is actually vision boarding. So I'm not going to do that in today's video. That will be a separate post in this series for the month of January that I am calling Resetting with Love. I feel like a lot of us feel the pressure to have our lives reset and ready to go on January 1st every year on the new year. But if you're like me, that's just not realistic. I know the end of the year, I'm super busy. We have holidays, we have work. There's just so much going on. And I feel like most times, 9 times out of 10, I am not ready to go on January 1st. And that is totally fine. I think it's actually better to be a little bit more intentional and take a little bit more time than rush to try and have everything ready on the first day of the new year. And so I want to make sure on my channel for the month of January, we are being intentional, we're being reflective, and we're taking our time to really make sure we're giving ourselves the things that we need so that we can actually achieve the things that we want. I just want to call out that this is a process. So don't feel like everything is going to change overnight, or again, that you need to have it done by January 1st. Just make sure you're making the commitment to yourself and to the process, and I guarantee you will achieve your goals and see the self-growth that you want to see. To keep ourselves accountable, I'm going to be doing quarterly check-ins for our 2025 goals so that we can be each other's accountability partner and make sure we're doing the things that were said we are going to do. And if you made it this far, comment down below how you are resetting with love in 2025. Thank you again for watching. I'm so happy and grateful to have you here. And I'm super excited for the upcoming videos where we're gonna be doing vision boards. We're gonna be getting tactical of what our day-to-day looks like to achieve our goals and more things to come. So don't forget to like this video, comment down below, and be sure to subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.